I have a theory. I read 1,500 pages the week after my Lord of the Rings video. I went on somewhat of a reading high, and I figured that could only be from the enormous sense of accomplishment I got from reading that many books in 5 days. Now that I'm facing withdrawals, it's about time to film another reading challenge. I'm gonna read all 5 books of the Hunger Games series, just in case you need proof, in 7 days. I think this is gonna be very easy. It's gonna be light work. Okay. After the Lord of the Rings series, which was that only 3 books? Yeah. But the reading level is way different. I'm gonna go through these Also, this is a pregame for when the new movie comes out. I wanna be prepped and ready by November, which is less than half a year from now. So, it's Saturday. The challenge starts Sunday and goes to next Saturday. That's how long 7 days is, by the way. Anyways, I don't have any further last words. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. It's Sunday, first day of the challenge, and I'm halfway through the first book. I technically think I was supposed to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes first, but I'm not gonna do that. Anyways, I've watched all the movies. I know everything that's gonna happen, and she still had my jaw on the floor, my jaw agape. Shock. Of course, I already know she's volunteering herself, yet when it happens, jaw on the floor, tears. I'm not emotional when it comes to reading books for the most part. There have been about 2 books that I've read that have made me emotional to some extent. And this actually did. I was like, oh my god, I'm 2 chapters in. And I'm just so mad I've waited this long. Oh, I'm so mad I've waited this. I'm so mad that I've waited this long to read this series. Like, I don't know why. This has to speak to really good writing, that even though I've watched all the movies and I know what's gonna happen, I'm still locked in and like cannot take myself away from this book. And I will be watching the movies again. I think the moral here is I appreciate reading a strong female character that isn't making me cringe every 2 seconds, or discovering something that was like supposed to prove how intelligent she is, but it's like that was in front of everybody's face. Actually, I figured that one out. I'm not very intelligent. Every single strong female character that I'm reading now, it's like, that's actually not what that is. Hey, why did you make her so stupid? Just finished book 1, took me the entire day to read, which isn't that long. I'm so mad at myself I haven't read this sooner. And now I'm gonna go rewatch the movie. And then tomorrow morning I'm gonna start book 2. Hopefully I'll finish that in one day as well, because I have 3 more books to read after that. It's Monday, day 2. Finished the first book yesterday, started it yesterday, finished it yesterday, and then finished the movie in one sitting. I really enjoyed this, like, so much that I think the only other book that is gonna compare to how much I like this is Sunrise on the Reaping, because I've heard so many great reviews on that. Also, so many people crying over it. So I don't think that's gonna happen. So I'm starting Catching Fire today, and I'm hoping the same deal will happen where I finish this in one day. They're like so quick to read. There's absolutely zero way I don't finish this in one day. How I think it's gonna compare to book 1, I think it's gonna be maybe like in the overall ranking, a 3rd. I don't have much hope for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I watched the movie, it was okay. I have no clue. So I'm gonna start this at like 10 o'clock. Again, I'm gonna lock in. There's no way I'm not finishing this, especially after The Lord of the Rings. Dude, also it's interesting watching the movie right after finishing this. Like, Peeta got to keep his leg in the movie. I don't know if that should. Okay, it's Tuesday, day 2. I finished Catching Fire last night, and I finished the movie last night too. And it's exactly as I expected, in that it was not gonna rank as high as book 1 did. Mockingjay, I expect this to be second to last, just from the movies purely. And like, my favorite was the first, and then in like direct order down. I have not heard the best things about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, so I expect that to be the last. Then Mockingjay, then Catching Fire, then Sunrise on the Reaping, then the first book. I will say I enjoyed like the first, like after the game started, I was like, I'm losing interest a bit. I'm not gonna lie, but also I knew everything that was gonna happen, so I was like, it's literally a clock. Dude, hey, would never have been able to solve that if you didn't watch the movies. You're saying that in hindsight. Maybe we should be quiet. So what day is it? It's Wednesday. Last night I finished The Mockingjay and started part 1 of the movie, which I'm actually probably gonna skip the next movie, part 2, and watch The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes again. I started this book. I should finish it today. So I watched the movies a long time ago, so reading them now, like I have a different mindset and like frame of reference for everything, which I think was really good. Going back and reading them and then watching the movies, you're able to just see everything come so full circle. As an example, when Haymitch says, remember who the enemy is, that lasts throughout all 3 movies. Like, it's very full circle when Katniss kills President Coin. The enemy isn't a person, it's a construct, it's a system. It's the dictatorship that they're pushing against. What figure that stands for those things, it doesn't matter what side they're on. And at least Snow was honest about who he was, his motivations, his greed. Well, Coin disguised those things under the guise of rebellion, hope, doing what is needed to save Panem. Meanwhile, planning to subject them to the same terrors that the rebellion stood against. This entire series had me in tears. Every single time Rue was mentioned, it was curtains for me. Like, you bring her up her name and I gotta leave the room. And yeah, I knew it was coming, of course. Now, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I did not like the movie. I thought they made his insanity come out of nowhere. It felt very forced, unless there was something I missed, which it's good that I'm reading the book because that'll help answer a lot of the questions I have currently. Like, I don't know if there's something, I watched it on a plane, like, I don't know if there's something I missed, but it seems like he killed like 2 people and then just went insane, which, like, he seemed like a normal person, a sane enough person. And then it was like, oh, a switch just like clicked and he started having a taste for blood, for death. Yay. It's Thursday, day 5. I got no filming done yesterday because I went shopping and then read the rest of the day to try to get anywhere in the book. Now it's 2 o'clock and I'm almost done, and then I'm gonna watch the movie, obviously. All I remember is that the movie really upset me for its drastic change in character. It felt very strange, but I'm hoping I'm just very off base. Reading it more and more, I noticed certain patterns in his character that I'm like, hey, you're not okay. Which in the movie, he seemed pretty normal up until the end. I haven't talked about this yet, but my biggest problem with the entire series right now is, hey, what's this? That's painful to look at. This is 500 pages. Let me show you what a good paperback looks like. Look at this. Huh? Need I say more? I have never held a book less satisfactory. I'm gonna be finishing the challenge tomorrow, which is a day earlier than expected, which I think means you should like, subscribe, and comment. It's Friday, the last day of the challenge. I finished The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the movie and the book, last night. I will say the book offered much needed context that I wish I had previously going into the movie. It filled in a lot of gaps for me. Also definitely changed my view on the end of the story. Because in the movie, like as soon as he says 3's enough for me, it gets very ominous. Like as soon as he says that, I'm like, oh, I'm watching a horror movie right now. He's after her life. And in the books, it's not until he gets bitten by the snake that I'm like, hey, Lucy, run a little faster. Like, he has a shotgun, actually. And in the books, when he leaves the house, sure, it's like, hey, maybe put the gun down. Maybe don't go off into the woods yelling somebody's name, gun in hand. Not a foolproof plan. In the movies, as soon as they get to that cabin, I'm on edge. And the book added a level of thought process that showed how deep his need for self-preservation and control truly went. And that was hard to see in the movies. But now, like when I went back and watched it, I could see each one of his actions were backed by the need to protect himself. Everything he does is for himself. At the beginning, when he's helping Lucy Gray, for himself. When he goes off in the woods with her, for himself. When he saves his friend, for himself. Everything he does is for himself. So I think he's pretty clear-cut, actually. Also, back to the film, I did not know much about Rachel Zegler when I first watched the movie. I remember thinking Lucy Gray's voice sounded very exaggerated and overdone. Like there was just a lot going on. But after reading the books, I realized that that's not the case. How her voice is described and the overall energy of her character, Rachel nails it. Her voice is so magnetic and powerful. It carries such emotion in a way that I thought before was overdone. And I can now see that is her spark that carries her through the games and is able to influence people in such a strong way. Also, Rachel seems like such a sweet, genuine, intelligent, funny person. The hate was so forced. I don't know what you guys were doing. She's so talented. It's insane. She is my new inspiration for life. So, and to tie this book into the rest of the series, one thing I really appreciated was just like how Katniss could never be forced lines to impact the rebellion or add fuel to the fire. Lucy Gray could not be forced to sing until she felt the raw emotions and had something, had a message to get across. Same thing for Katniss. When it comes to her, she will speak her mind and nothing is more powerful than that. They both have an intuition for it, and when they speak or sing from like their true self and don't force it, that is what can lead a rebellion or influence people in such a visceral way. Overall, I think I enjoyed the book and the movie a lot more than I thought I would. But mainly Lucy Gray. I did not care much for Snow's character. I thought Lucy Gray was such an interesting character to read and to see the impact she had, that now reading Sunrise on the Reaping, there's already been multiple references to her. Yeah, with how much I'm talking about this book right now, obviously it stuck with me more, but I really think it was just Lucy Gray's character. Now on to Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm already at chapter 3, which means I've cried already. Okay, like this book, easy, fine. Every other book in the series, less so. There was always some moment. This is also, I'm going to the pool, which means I'm going to be out in public, which means I'm going to be reading this out in public, which means there will be a live audience to the show I'm going to put on. Hopefully being in public, I'll be able to contain myself to some extent, but considering, as I said, I'm on chapter 3 and I was already having a breakdown. So I finished the challenge yesterday. Am I sane? No. Should I be allowed to function today? Also, no. I'm not in good condition after that. I don't think a book has ever made me cry that much. Like when I say I was uncontrollably crying in a way I haven't done, the only other book that has been comparable to how much I've cried was The Song of Achilles, and this far surpassed that. That was like my #1 book for like, hey, if you want to cry, read that. This beat that by like miles. Also, to make things worse, after I finished the book, I pulled up the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes soundtrack, listened to that, and do you remember when I said that Rachel's voice carries a lot of emotion? Well, yeah. Well, sure. And then 30 minutes later, I was like, you know what? I'm curious about Lucy Gray's headstone. Let's go back and read that. As I was flipping through the pages, My eyes caught a couple of lines, started crying. Got to that stone, started crying. That lasted probably another 30 minutes. So I spent well over an hour crying over this book. What are you talking about? After the first 2 chapters, when I was reading the games part and then got to the end of the games, I was like, nothing could touch me. Nothing could touch me. Nothing could reduce me to tears. Like this, I'm good. I'm fine. I was like, oh, Maisie died? That's too bad. Lulu died? Well, she kind of already did twice, so. And I knew Lenore wasn't gonna make it, but I assumed she died by like the hands of the Peacekeepers. Something so uncontrollable and brutal that it was like there was nothing you could have done. I saw that coming from the start. We're fine. Then his entire family died and he was clinging onto the last threads of hope. Lenore. They got to reunite. How joyful. Then she died by something so controllable. I truly don't think I would have been as emotional if the Peacekeepers came and ripped her away. That would be an expected brutal end. This was such a small act. A gumdrop and she was gone. And so was I. And now he's left alone to live with his grief and regret. Like, I do not understand how he's made it, what, was it like 24 years? How? How did he make it 24? Like, that's insane. Either he would have died of like alcohol poisoning at some point, or he just has no reason to live. I understand the obligation to Lenore, but, and again, with it being so controllable, all he had to do was check the bag. In every other scenario that I was thinking of, there was nothing he could possibly do. That is a type of regret that will follow him forever. As we see in the movies, it does follow him forever because it was such a small thing. So in the epilogue, when he was talking about the geese with Katniss, oh, I need to take a break. I need. All that being said, the movie actually is terrifying me. There's no way I'm gonna be able to go out in public and compose myself. I'm gonna need to be escorted by a trusted adult because I will not be safe to drive on the road. I should not be on the open road after that. Absolutely not. Side note, loved all the references to Lucy Gray and her music. That did not help with my mental state though. And so after reading what was like the last chapter or so, and then going back and rereading it, for whatever reason I decided to torture myself with that. I was still uncontrollably crying after already having read it all. If I see one more edit on my For You page, I'm going to flip out. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I've already suffered enough for one lifetime, I think, of that book and that story. Okay, so anyways, if you've made it this far, you should like, subscribe, and comment. I think this is my 5th or 6th video. And I officially made it to 100 subscribers, so you should join them, I think. You should follow along.